Happy afternoon, folks. Hope you're doing well. The campaign trail is heating up like holy smokes. It is lighting up on fire as the walls seem to be closing in on the Mark Carney campaign. He's getting more uncomfortable. Questions are coming out. People are interested in his past history, and he's like, I don't really like that. I don't like talking to you. I'm not going to address it. That's the issue. We were talking about more Chinese connections being linked to Carney, but not just that, because we know that. We've already shown the proof time and time again. Boom. We have a whole list of it. But no, Paul Chang, remember that whole thing, putting a bounty on his political opponent? Yes, well, they replaced him. And they replaced him with someone else who's also connected to China. The liberals can't help it. They are so corrupt, and they think they can get away with it because they have the media in their pocket. They don't think they're going to be checked on it. Then finally, at some point, you're going to get just one reporter who has a little bit of courage and calls it out, and man, it gets weird. We're also going to be talking about Pierre Poilievre calling out the direct link between Carney, Brookfield, and his housing plan that he announced. And oh baby, that gets uncomfortable too, and so much more. But before we do that, please take the time to like, share, and subscribe. It means the world. It really helps continue to amplify the voice of these videos and helps get it to new audiences. As you're going to see today, how corrupt and even more corrupt the mainstream media has become and what they are doing and how they're trying to ensure a Carney win. It is important that another voice gets out and that people can hear the other side of what is currently happening and not the distilled, sanitized side coming from the mainstream media. It means the world. Thank you so much. Please like, share, and subscribe. Now let's get into the show. We have Liberal candidate Peter Wen chosen to replace Paul Chang linked to pro-Beijing group's events. And again, this is coming from the Globe and Mail. Remember we were talking about the Globe and Mail a couple weeks ago when they are essentially trying to smear Pierre Poilievre, and then we end up learning how connected they are to the Liberal Party and to people who are advisors to the Liberal Party. Yeah, we learned about that. And then I end up coming to the conclusion myself that they are 100% a propaganda arm of the Liberal Party. And then you see something like this, you're just like, oh, there's some hope. And then, you kind of look down, you see that little gray highlight down there in the bottom left corner. Oh, this one, yep, it's anything that's critical of the Liberal government or anything that is critical of the Liberal Party gets put behind a paywall, so it limits the viewing of it all. Remember I was talking about like, sharing, and subscribing? Well, let's light this article up, making sure that we can see what's happening behind the scenes. This is what the article says. This is Mr. Peter Wen, the Liberal candidate selected by Mark Carney to replace one who was dropped over a China-related controversy, is a member of a Beijing-friendly lobby organization and has given talks at events honoring a Toronto group that advocates for the annexation of Taiwan by China. We know how Canadians feel about annexation, that's a little spooky, isn't it? One time, Toronto Police Deputy Chief Peter Wen, who is now carrying the Liberal banner in the Toronto area riding of Markham-Unionville, succeeded Paul Chang. The former MP stepped down April 1st after news broke that he had talked to reporters about how someone could take a conservative candidate and human rights advocate to the Chinese consulate to claim a bounty put on him by the Hong Kong authorities. Foreign interference has been a significant topic in this federal election campaign, including this week when Ottawa's election interference watchdog announced that it had detected an information operation from Beijing aimed at shaping public opinion among Chinese Canadians about Mr. Carney. Mr. Wen appears to have a strong relationship with China's diplomatic mission in Toronto. In 2014, the consulate held an event to mark his promotion to Toronto Police Superintendent. He has attended consulate celebrations, including one in January of 2020 that included a photo display of display on Xinjiang province that did not acknowledge Beijing's brutal treatment of its Muslim Uyghur minority there. Canada's parliament adopted a motion in 2021 that declared China's treatment of the Uyghurs a genocide. Then we hop on down here. The new Liberal candidate as of Wednesday was listed as an honorary director of the Jiangsu Commerce Council of Canada, a Toronto headquartered organization founded in 2002 with clear ties to China's United Front Work Department. The UFWD answers to the ruling Chinese Communist Party's Central Committee and oversees Beijing's influence, propaganda, and intelligence operations inside and outside of China. So you just appointed an MP who's connected to these guys, and it gets even more fun if you scroll down here. During the Liberal leadership race, Mr. Carney met with the executives of the JCCC, according to its website, which described the former central banker's entry into politics as an important turning point in the upgrading of China-Canada relations. And here is the article. This was fully translated from, I believe it was Mandarin to English. And it's, again, a positive article on Mark Carney and how he's going to be tough on the United States and change trade relations. Canada's going to secure new trade partners. Here it is. That's how it goes. So people reasonably have questions about it. And well, the questions were brought to Mark Carney, and this was his answer.
My colleagues have a story today about a Liberal candidate's relations with China-friendly groups and a meeting that you also held with a pro-Beijing group. So my question is, why did you meet with this pro-Beijing group, Jiangsu Commerce Council of Canada? And is the party okay with the fact that Liberal candidate Peter Yan has been so close with the Chinese consulate and China-friendly groups, given the public inquiry into foreign interference, says that this is a tactic China uses to exert influence?
Okay, well, I'm sorry, but you can't believe everything you read in the Globe and Mail. So in your question, and I guess in the article in question, you said I had a meeting with whatever your term was, Beijing group. I've never heard of this group, okay? Never heard of this group. Certainly didn't have a set-up meeting with this group. Full stop. So check your sources before you write things like that.
Wow.
Okay? Or your colleagues do. I'm a politician. I go to events where there are hundreds and thousands over the course of a day of different people there. That is not a meeting. If somebody happens to be in the room, takes a picture with me, that's not a meeting, okay? First point. Secondly, with respect to Mr. Yun, this is a person who has served his community for decades. This is a person who's deputy commissioner of the police, okay? A person in discharge of those responsibilities meets with a variety of community groups in the community because that's his job. That's his responsibility. We're proud to have him as a candidate, and I honor his service, including on today.
Wow. Never met him. Don't know the man. Who are you talking about? And as far as Peter Wen is concerned, well, he talks with a lot of different people. It's all good. We just talked about the connections he has. But you can't believe everything in the Globe and Mail, he says. Everything the Globe and Mail writes, you can't believe it. But as far as Peter Wen goes, yeah, check your sources, check what's going on. You can't believe everything the Globe and Mail writes, right? Right. You can't believe all of it. And so reporter Andy Lee is like, never met him, huh? Okay, well, let's take a look here. Oh, JCC, here's Mark Carney at an event, meeting with these so-called people. Andy Lee says, in case anyone wants to read the article about the meeting between Mark Carney and the Jiangsu Commerce Council of Canada, here it is. Mark Carney believes that trade must be diversified and we need to reduce economic dependence on the United States. And that, again, that was the article that I showed you here where they talked about their meeting. And here we are, the article in question, talking about their in-depth meeting with Mark Carney. And I'll make sure to zoom in so you can see exactly what he's saying. Where they say, recently, the president of the JCC and Zheng Ri, honorary president, and other Chamber of Commerce representatives had an in-depth meeting with soon-to-be Prime Minister Mark Carney. Never met him. Never seen him before. Don't know who you are. We just have a photo of you shaking hands with him with the Canadian flags in the background. Don't know who he is, though. They claim to have a meeting with you, and you claim to not. Cue my music.
Why the f you lying? Why you always lying? Oh my God. Stop lying.
This is what you get. Mark Carney is so corrupt on so many levels, and all he does is lie. And this is what's really frustrating, right? We know that CBC is not down the middle. They're not neutral. They love to go move to the left. Even Ground News acknowledges that they are a left-wing news outlet. And that's scary when all your tax dollars are funding them. And then they have posted segments on their website of fact-checking Pierre Poilievre. Do you know what they haven't fact-checked? Mark Carney. And we've been seeing all the lies coming from him on blatant issues. When you have literal proof that you met with these people, you have little proof that you're connected to them. And people, as foreign interference becomes more and crazier, and then you put in a guy who is connected to those groups and has sentiments that are beneficial to Beijing. He's just a community member. He served his community. Shut the heck up. Don't want to hear it. Don't want to hear it. This is what you're going to get, and you're not going to get a CBC fact check. That's why shows like mine exist. We'll do the fact checking, I guess. Not even so much fact checking. We're just going to call out the BS for what it is so that you don't have to be gaslit by your government anymore. Like, share, and subscribe. Thank you very much. Oh, sorry. Shameless plug. It was a shameless plug. Sorry. Shameless plug. That's on me. But what I thought was very interesting, right? We've talked about Sam Cooper, investigative journalist for the Bureau, doing some great work uncovering all the craziness that's happening with China, the triad groups, Mexican cartels, drug trafficking, money laundering, all the stuff. He's been right deep in it. Well, he posted a tweet yesterday posted a tweet today that really caught my attention. I was like, if you know Sam Cooper, he's a very well-reasoned, even-keeled, thoughtful individual. That's why I caught on to him in the first place, because he doesn't get caught up in emotion. He's not, me. He's very down to earth. And I think he's a great guy, and a great guy in uncovering a lot of the issues that are happening in our country when it comes to these problems. Even he posted this tweet and got my attention. He said, Mr. Carney is either a champagne socialist, geopolitical idiot, which is likely with Gerald Butts running his show, or is doing his best to secure the CCP and IRGC diaspora repression and champagne socialist useful idiot voter base. Oh. When Sam comes at you like that, things are corrupt and not going well. But then we also had a further announcement from Mark Carney today about guns. And, he's actually starting to take a Trudeau-like approach. And he's starting to delve back into some cultural issues as well as some identity politics, which we'll show here of him talking about guns in Canada.
Tariffs are not the only American policies that are threatening our economy and our society. They're also threatening the safety of our communities. Criminals are taking advantage of irresponsible American gun laws and their weak border enforcement to bring illegal guns into Canada. Large American online platforms have become seas of racism, misogyny, anti-Semitism, Islamophobia, and hate in all its forms. And they're being used by criminals to harm our children. Well, criminals are trying to illegally import guns to Canada. Pierre Poilievre is trying to import irresponsible American-style gun laws into our country. If elected, my government will automatically revoke gun licenses for individuals convicted of violent offenses, including intimate partner violence. We will strengthen firearms licensing and the so-called yellow and red flag laws that keep weapons out of the hands of those who are a risk to themselves.
And he goes on to talk about how awful gun owners are and how he's going to restrict your rights. That is how that's going. And we know, any responsible Canadian who knows what's going on knows that illegal guns make up the majority of gun crime in our country. Illegal guns coming over from the States. That's how it actually works. But do you know what? He takes the Justin Trudeau approach and is like, we are going to clamp down on gun owners. Again, more control and centralizing of power. That is the theme of this government, or this ideology from Mark Carney. And as well as you caught the beginnings of it. Something myself as a content creator, talking about American platforms that have been encouraging Islamophobia, hate, and other forms of rhetorical violence. We are going to have to clamp down on that. Meaning, this is why this election hinges on so much. That if Mark Carney gets in, shows like mine are going away, folks. He will make sure to stomp us all out because, he's Trudeau 2.0. Authoritarian 2.0. That's what he wants. That's how he wants to centralize power. That's how he operates. He then goes on through this speech, goes on to address Bill C-63, making sure the online harms bill comes back into the conversation. The one that's defending children. Also the one where they didn't mention the fact that they are going to be giving powers to boards appointed by the government that'll have unilateral authority to kick people off platforms, limit their social media use, and so on and so forth. Yes, just depending if you say something naughty and not really specifying the violence. But more so, if you say something the government doesn't like, they'll have this bill in their pocket to go after you. He's bringing that back in the conversation. And he also promised to bring in more law enforcement to deal with Islamophobia and violence towards religious groups here in Canada. He doesn't want to actually use the laws that are currently in place that can be leveraged right now to deal with violence. No, he wants to bring in more laws, more authority, more vigilance around the Canadian population. It's all about control. We know that's what you're going to get with a Mark Carney government. The thing I love most about today, though, was Pierre Poilievre making some announcements around housing and building housing and trying to make it more affordable for individuals. But in that conversation, he addresses Carney's plan for housing that he announced last week. And he calls it out for what it really is. It's a ruse to get Brookfield more rich.
Mark Carney is famous for plagiarizing. Of course, he plagiarized his way through university. He's now plagiarizing Justin Trudeau. Trudeau said in 2017, we are getting the federal government back into the business of housing. Well, this week, Mark Carney said, we're getting government back in the business of building affordable homes. So it's almost a precise plagiarization of his protege. But the point is, nothing is changing. It's the same Liberal promise. The only difference is now Mr. Carney is promising a $35 billion modular home program. Well, it turns out that Brookfield is invested in modular homes. So he's got another conflict of interest that will be good for him, good for bureaucrats, but won't build any houses for Canadians.
Boom. Calls it out for what it is. Again, the story that we talked about last week, where Brookfield is in the business of homes, also in the business of modular homes. And so they'll be double dipping as per usual. They're going to go in and own these homes, or the companies that they oversee will be owning these homes. They'll be collecting rent as well as building them. And it's just going to be a beautiful thing for Brookfield. And I love that Pierre Poilievre called this BS out, because that's exactly what it is. We are witnessing a corporate takeover of Canada, and they're doing it through Mark Carney. They've already started it with Justin Trudeau, but Mark Carney would be the nail in the coffin. I know it can be heavy. I know it can be hard, but look at the bright side. Look at the hope that the Conservatives are trying to highlight what they want to bring, and look at the corruption on the other side. But when it feels like it's a little too much to deal with, and it's a little hard, I urge you to just watch the NDP campaign. Thank you for Mark Nixon for pointing this out via Christie.
We're going to jump together. Get ready, everybody. We're going to show them that we're ready. We're ready to fight. We're ready to win. Here we go. Get ready. Get ready. Get warmed up. Get warmed up. Here we go.
Get your hips ready.
Here we go. Let's go. Ready? Are you ready? Are you ready? Are you ready? Here we go. 1, 2, 3. Yes! Woo! Yes, thank you so much. The floor is actually shaking.
And yeah, the floor is shaking with the music playing off the iPhone. Congratulations, Chuck Beats, saying you have complete torched this party. Oh, rest in peace, NDP. It's over for you guys. Yeah, that's fun to watch and make fun of their campaign, isn't it? But that's the update. Hope you enjoyed it. And just before you go out, I have to tell you one thing. One last thing. You made it this far in the video. It means you're a real one. As you know, we're celebrating our 100,000 subscribers. So I'm going to make 250 more of these. And if you're interested, there's a Google form in the comments, the Google form in the description. And put your name down, how many you want, and we'll be sure to contact you when we start shipping these bad boys out. So if you're interested in wanting to celebrate with us and getting one of these limited Elevate Podcast tumblers, feel free to put your name in, and we'll be sure to contact you when shipping begins. You guys are awesome. Have yourselves a good one. I'm out.